there, welcome to the F Your Fierce podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Monique Menard, and today we're in for a treat. Shit, guys, she's great, like, legit, like, I don't know why she came on the show. I'm cool with it, because she's really talented and really special, and I'm so happy I get to share her with you. Who's on the show? Mariana Cardenas. Yes, she is an award-winning actress, dancer, and interpreter. She has worked with so many people in this business and knows so much, and today she's going to share her words, wisdom, and challenges that she's gone through within this business. She's going to share it with us. So get ready to strap in, learn a little bit, and we're going to also talk about fear, see how that's going on. For those of you out there that are new to the F Your Fierce podcast, just so you know, it is an interview-style show. I talk to people about the trajectory of their career. They're pretty much all creatives, and we talk about what's going on, how they got from point A to point B, where they're going, and we also talk about fear, because fear comes in and snatches you out of your bed and just tries to take advantage of you. Well, I say turn fear on its backside and you take advantage of it. Yeah, you take your fear. You F your fear. You get pregnant with your fear. You give birth to your dreams. I mean, that's my idea of it. I don't know. There needs to be some finessing, I think. Anyway, you're here. It's going to be great. I wanted to just ask you, before we bring up Mariana, I wanted to just go ahead and touch base with you and see how you're doing. Okay, so my first question I'm going to ask you, even though we don't know each other, like I don't know you. I don't know you from Adam or Eve. So my question is, what is something that you're really, really good at? Okay. Now I want you to think of something that you're really, really bad at. Okay. All right. Let me specify. What is something in the performing arts that you're really, really good at? And what's something in the performing arts you're really, really bad at? Okay. That's my challenge for you for the week. What you're really, really good at, I want you to do it 3 times this week. So if you're a really good singer, sing 3 15-second songs and post it on your TikTok. If you're a really good actor, tape yourself doing 3 little scenes and post them somewhere. And what are you really bad at? Okay. Really bad at sight reading. All right. Pull yourself up a YouTube video of sight reading. Invest 15 minutes in yourself. And that one thing you're really bad at. Just 15 minutes. The purpose of this isn't to make you perfect at it at the end of the week. The purpose of this is just a social experiment, just to see if you're a little bit better at it than you thought you were. I find that I gravitate toward things that I'm really good at. And I think a lot of us do. But sometimes I think that there's a lot of worth in trying to be better at some of the things that we're not so great at, because it just helps us to be a better rounded performer. So that's my challenge for you this week. What are you really good at? What are you not so good at? Try to get a little bit better at what you're not so good at. And what you're really good at, get yourself a little bit of validation doing it. And hopefully you can get very specific feedback as to what people like about it. Because I think that's super helpful in terms of making yourself a little bit more marketable. So if people are telling you, I really like the way that you sing, you sound really good, I would ask a couple of those friends, like people you're on the up and up with, what specifically about it did you like? You could also take that and turn that into a review. Why not? All right, so that was my little thing that I wanted to touch base with you guys about. What are you really, really good at, and what do you need some work on? So we'll touch base about that next week and see how you did. I'll check in on you. Oh my God, you guys, I didn't even tell you. Mariana has this incredible podcast. It's called Are These Books Drunk? Yeah. And that's such a cute title. It's her and a couple of other people, and they host this podcast. They read these books. They talk about these books. It's so much fun. She tells us all about it. So let's go ahead and check it out. Before we do, here's a quick little sample of Are These Books Drunk with Mariana Cardenas. Let's check it out.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is Are These Books Drunk?
Mariana?
Mariana, are you drunk?
A little already.
Probably.
Yeah. Oh, well.
I'm Brandy.
I'm Emma.
And I'm Mariana. This is your book club with a twist, and we are your happy hour girlfriend.
You guys, I am so tremendously excited for today. She is one of the most inspirational people that I know, and every time I'm around her, I want to sit up a little bit more straight and be like, hey girl, what's up? Because I just think that she is the coolest. Yes, you guessed it. Mariana is on the show. I am so excited. Mariana, hey girl, what's up?
Well, thank you for that lovely introduction, Ashley. What's up? It's so amazing to see you, honestly.
It's so amazing to see you. Look
Oh.
at that smile, y'all. Look at that smile.
Come
Look at
on.
that laugh.
Oh, thank
Like
you.
I just can't.
It's an honor to be on your show. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Well, thank you
been
so much.
very much looking forward to this since you asked me on.
That makes me really, really happy.
Yay.
Okay. So first off, why don't you just
Sure.
go ahead and tell everyone, how do we know each other?
It's been several years now, no?
Yeah.
We met as standardized patients way
Okay.
back at NYU, I believe. I believe
Yes.
I was doing an OBGYN OSCE with, I think it was
Uh-huh.
like first or second year med students.
Uh-huh.
And I guess your listeners know what standardized patients
Well, why
are,
don't
right?
you go ahead and reiterate it for them? For
Okay.
those who are like, huh?
So if anybody has watched Seinfeld, I mean, who hasn't? Kramer.
And so we danced. And I burned for her. Much like the burning during urination that I would experience soon afterwards. Gonorrhea! Gonorrhea!
Pretty much we are actors who are hired to portray medical ailments. And we work with the med students and with faculty just to help the med students out with their communicational skills.
Yes.
And
Totally.
we do some crazy cases
do.
every now
We
and again, which I think included the one that you met me on, which was a Miss Period or something like that with OBGYN. And I remember you were, at that point, you were observing and you observed me. So I kind of guided you through the whole, like, whatnots of that, even though you had been doing standardized patient work for a pretty long time before coming to us at NYU.
But every school's different, and it's cool because you know, the first time that I saw you, I was like taking notes, and I was just like, I love the portrayal of this character that she's playing. And then we actually met, and I'm like, oh, she's like legit. NYU has like a legit standardized patients. Everybody's on like HBO shows and like ABC show. Well, that's how it felt in my head, you know?
Yeah, no,
Was
but
like,
totally.
but they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me when we have our like breaks, when we go into the lounge, and just to hear everyone's story. I'm always inspired with what everybody's doing. Everybody's juggling a million different jobs. And when I first met you and knowing your story and your background and how you were this amazing singer and actor and just like a jack of all trades, it has always warmed my heart to know that we're giving back in a way, but we're also continuing to pursue our dreams, and we're not giving up on anything.
No.
But we're there to help these med students out who are pretty incredible people.
They really are. And they love it so much, and that makes me so happy. And it's cool
know.
because we get to meet cool people. It's cool. So
Yeah.
speaking of cool people, okay.
Sure.
So where are you from?
Bogota, Colombia.
Ooh.
Yeah, I was born in Bogota, Colombia.
Okay. And so when you were a little kid, what were you like?
Oh, I guess very similar to how I am now. Maybe a little bit more of a dreamer or a little bit more free with my imagination. Because of course, when you grow up, there's life gets in the way and you start learning how to like contain yourself. But definitely a perfectionist, definitely a goody two shoes, very competitive. And I was an only child. I am an only child. So there was a lot of pressure in me and I think that the pressure was coming from me to be the ideal child. So it was very much about like being very ambitious, but also feeling like I needed to make it no matter what.
So what were you getting into when you were a kid?
From the get-go, dance.
Dance. Okay.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you first started dancing?
So my grandmother was the one who she would always see me like dancing and singing around in the house and like putting on my PJs so I could like pretend that I had really long hair, and that's why now I have really long hair.
Yeah.
And she told my mom, she's like, we need to put her in something. We need her to like
Mhm.
release all this energy because it looks like she wants to perform. She wants to do
Mhm.
something. So they put me in a baby tap class. I think at that point I was like maybe 5 or so.
Oh.
And the first time I was on stage, that was the end of me. I said,
Mhm.
this is exactly what I want to be doing for the rest of my life.
Yeah. So
Yeah. So I
so you
started when I was 5.
so you started with tap. Oh, my mother's tried to come on the podcast.
Oh, hi, Mama.
Hi, Mama. She's so cute. Okay. Sorry, you guys. My mother just burst into the room to hand me a receipt. So I had to cut that piece out. So this is where we are. So there we are. We're talking about dance. So when you were a
Yes.
kid, you were
Mhm.
getting into dance. It started
Mhm.
with tap, and then where did the dance like take your body? Like
Oh,
what
it
other
just
forms?
yeah, it evolved then. It's like, well, tap is fun, but we also need to, learn the technique. And then it went into ballet and then jazz and then doing a little bit of tumbling. So it was pretty much getting into everything, to the point that when I was in 3rd grade, my teacher, I'll never forget her, Miss Rivera, she said to my mom one day after school that she knew that I was not only very ambitious and a good student, but I really wanted to be a performer and that I really wanted to follow through with the arts.
Mm-hmm.
So she knew of magnet art schools, and
Oh.
that she insisted that my mom apply for me, at least for 4th grade or for 5th grade, so I can start in the process of getting into those programs.
Oh, wow.
And so my mom did. When when I was still in 3rd grade, I applied to get into South Miami Elementary for 4th grade, the Performing Magnet Art Program for dance.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get in the first go around.
Uh-huh.
It was very interesting because the audition was all about, seeing your natural ability for the art
Yeah.
form. So
Yeah.
it was about how like elongated you can be, how flexible you were, how much your feet could point, all
Mm-hmm.
that stuff, which I was more of like the performer where I just wanted to do it and I wanted to work hard to get to what I
Yeah.
needed to get to the place that they needed me to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't have the natural ability when it comes to like ballet flexibility and
Okay.
the lines. So they passed on me, but I was like, no, this is not going to happen. So re-auditioned for 5th grade. And then in 5th grade, I got in and I went to South Miami Elementary, then the Performing Arts Middle School, and then made it into New World School of the Arts for high school. So at that point, I was like very much
Yeah.
in that discipline, and there was nothing else that I wanted to do. That was everything for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes sense, especially with where your career's gone. It's so interesting that you said that though. Whenever I was getting ready to go to middle school, I auditioned for LJ Alama to be,
Okay.
and that was one of the schools where if you were in their choir, like it was a big deal. They were the
Right.
art school in Lafayette, Louisiana. And I auditioned for Kenny Bowen. He was the guy that was doing the audition. And or no. I okay. I auditioned whenever I was a very small child.
Okay.
There's the two-part to it. My sister auditioned for piano, and I went to her
Oh,
audition and I started singing during her audition. And
you're
Kenny Bowen was the
kidding.
guy that was at the audition, and he was like, we'll take her, but we're also going to take her when she's ready. So cut to me getting ready for middle school, and I'm like, they're going to take me. I know it. I go in for the audition. They did not take me. My music reading skills, my theory skills were not good, not up to snuff for LJ
Oh
Alamon. So they passed on
my
me.
goodness.
Yeah.
Did you try again?
I did not try again.
You're kidding.
I didn't try again because where my school zone was,
Sure.
I had all my friends from elementary school going to middle school with me.
Yeah.
So it was like, let's try once. And to be honest with you, I never even thought of trying to get
Yeah.
because it was like I was going to start at the school that I was going to start at and kind of do all 4 years there.
Yep.
So I didn't even think of that, but I absolutely love your persistence and determination of, okay, that didn't work. We're going to make it work.
I know. Thank you. And I
I
was
think
so
that speaks
tiny,
so
and
much to you.
yeah, I can't believe that at such a young age, I was already so determined.
Yeah.
There was
So
something in me that didn't want to give up.
at what point did acting start to kind of pop up?
Oh, well, in high school, it popped up a little bit here and there because New World School of the Arts was designated in a way where you had all your academic classes in the morning.
Mhm.
And then depending what discipline you were a part of, you would do all your arts classes in the afternoon. So
Okay.
I was very much interacting with all the musical theater kids and with the theater kids, the art kids, the musicians. So there was a lot of, doing interdisciplinary works.
Mhm.
So at that point, I was, let me backtrack because as a dancer, I was always very much of the performer. The performer always lived in me. A lot of times they asked me to kind of tone that down
Mhm.
because if you're in a corps de ballet,
Mhm.
you're supposed to be completely uniformed. Nobody should be standing out. But for me, it was always like the music moved me. The
Mhm.
expression of dance moved me. I wanted to show it through my face and my body.
Mhm.
So there was always that part of me that really wanted to like project and actually use my voice. So whenever I got those chances in high school to do so, I would, but they
Mhm.
came very far in between. But the
Yeah.
interest was always there. Not until fast forward when I ended up tearing my ACLs several times, that's when I was fully able to kind of dive in and immerse myself into acting.
Well, I'm so happy that you did because you're a
Yeah.
terrific actress and
Oh,
you're
thanks, Ashley.
so fun to watch, just really satisfying to watch. So, if we do backtrack and we kind of stick with that, graduating from high school, where are you thinking, like, what are you thinking you're going to do when you grow up, when you're graduating from high school?
Oh, when I was a junior. Yeah, when I started to apply to schools, it was all the big dance schools. It was
Hmm.
Juilliard, SUNY Purchase, NYU, Alvin Ailey with Fordham. Um, I was actually salutatorian of my high school, so my academics were very, very good.
Of course you were. Of course you were.
Perfectionist in me. I had to do everything,
Yeah.
the best possible. So I was offered many opportunities. My dream was always to go to Juilliard.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, I did not get in. I made it very far into the application process, and I got to audition, made it all the way to the end. It didn't happen.
Hmm.
Um the night before I had to decide what school I ended up going to, I was in between NYU's dance program, Tisch,
Hmm.
and Fordham with Alvin Ailey. I had attended a couple of summer programs at Alvin Ailey, knew the campus very well. Parents knew the campus very well. NYU, not so much. And I got a full ride to Alvin Ailey with Fordham. Only got 50 at Tisch, half
Oh,
50%.
hey.
So that
Yeah.
I ended up going with Fordham and Ailey, which I'm very happy that I did. Met my
Yeah.
husband there. Like there's a lot of things that came from it, so it was meant to
Hmm.
be.
Hmm.
But yeah, there was no doubt in my mind that my career or my future was as a professional dancer.
So I know everyone out there is thinking the same thing, right? We're all in the same boat. Okay, was Alvin Ailey just like center stage?
Very simple. That's such a great question.
'Cause it was.
I mean, we were at Lincoln Center.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the dancers. We roomed with those who are not dancers, but I mean, the dancers were always together.
Hmm.
You ate, you slept,
Hmm.
breathed, danced. Like that was just what. Yeah. Plus, I mean, you had to keep up with your academics, but it was
Yeah.
very much like focused on getting a career in dance.
So what was the first audition that you went to? out of Alvin Ailey? Like you get this training, like you're
Yeah.
ready. What were you thinking you were going to do? Were you thinking I'm going to do a little bit of Broadway. I'm going to go do Radio City. I'm going to go on tour with Janet Jackson. Like where were you thinking you would fit in the world?
I think there was the desire to do all of the above.
Mm-hmm.
But because Alvin Ailey really trained us for concert dance, I was very much focused at the time to be a concert dancer and make it into one of the bigger dance companies.
Okay.
My dream at that point was to be with the Graham Company, because the Graham Company is very theatrical, very artistic. I loved the Graham discipline. I don't know if you are familiar with
I'm not.
Martha Graham. She's one of the greats of the modern dance world.
Mm-hmm.
So it was modern dance,
Okay.
but it had all of her works came from, there was a story behind her works. And there were evening length works where there was really just a lot of emotion was behind everything, which not a lot of dance companies do that, but hers was very focused on being very theatrical. So I think that was like the best of both worlds for me at the time.
Yeah.
I did an audition for that company, started auditioning for smaller concert dance companies, and I ended up getting into Jennifer Muller The Works, which is the company they danced for maybe 7 years. I got in as an apprentice and then soon after became a full-on company member.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I know you already gave a spoiler.
Yeah.
You got injured.
I did.
Whew.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Yeah, it was a blessing in disguise. Now I can see it that way.
Yeah, I bet you didn't at the time.
I didn't at the time. And interestingly enough, the day that I tore my first ACL was the day before my now husband was going to propose to me. So that's like a whole thing. I lost something that was what I thought was my love and my passion for life. And then I gained like a whole other passion and a whole other reason for being. So, which that in itself was a safe haven for me. To be able to plan for the future in a different way, in a different light, was incredible.
Yes.
But it was devastating, to say the least. It's not something I had expected, but because I'm on your podcast and this is called F Your Fears, my injury happened because of fear. I definitely have thought about it for many, many years, have had many therapy sessions to kind of like wrap my mind
work
around
through
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that fear had a big play in what was happening.
How
and
so?
Why. When you asked me about how I was when I was a child, and living a life of like trying to make it as an artist from a very young age, there was always, like I said, there was always a huge amount of pressure, but also a desire to not give up no matter what. And so listening to your body, listening to your emotions, wanting to be like a normal kid at times, that wasn't something that I like gave into. And because my goal was to make it, the fear of success was very prominent. It was a thing that was always like hovering over, like overwhelming everything that I was doing. Because I always thought, if I do make it, or when I do make it, because I was a finalist in the arts. Like I had made it in my dance career.
Of course.
Like, right before I tore my first ACL, I had finally gotten a contract with the Metropolitan Opera House. Like I was doing it. And I think the notion of getting there and not being able to live up to that, or not being fulfilled by that, unfortunately was in a way, it was debilitating. And I think your body does have a way to tell you, this might be too much for you, or this is not the end all be all. why don't you just take it easy and kind of become a whole person, and then see if you later on can actually get to a place where that fear of success will be non-existent.
Mm-hmm. So you're dealt a huge blow.
Yeah.
A huge blow. And of course, speaking about it now, you have the hindsight. At the
Oh, of
time,
course.
what were you thinking? What's my next chess move? Like what, or checkers? What,
Yeah.
where do I go next? What do I
Yeah.
do?
I mean, I exactly was in that place. I was in a
Yeah,
place of limbo. Like,
of
now
course.
what the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
where do I go from here? Like, what is this supposed to be telling me?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But because that was my first one, and there were 4 other injuries that came after that, and 4 more surgeries, that during that first one, there was nothing outside of like getting ready for my marriage. And at that point with Jennifer Muller, she had also decided to create a full evening length piece, and I was going to be the protagonist. So she like basically waited for me to get back from this first ACL, which I did. But my whole impetus behind recovering was to get back to perform that piece. So I kind of, all like the distractions and everything else that could have like invaded my soul didn't, because all I wanted was to get back. I was like, what the fuck? But I need to get back.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I tore my ACL my second ACL, 2 weeks before the premiere of that piece that I recovered to get back to.
Wow.
See, all these signs were leading to like, you need to stop. Yeah.
So by the time you had torn it for a 4th time,
I actually tore my ACL one
Twice.
in my right, one in my left. Then I also had meniscal tear, which required another surgery. And then I had a bone spur in my ankle that was impeding my recovery again, which that's why they went in once more. So those were the 4 surgeries.
So I would guess after your 4th surgery, you're like, okay, I'm going to have to let not dance as my job now. Right?
I wasn't there yet.
You weren't there yet. Okay.
I wasn't.
Okay. What were you thinking then?
I was thinking I wasn't going to allow the injuries to be the deciding factor at the time for me to make the choice to stop completely. So I was trying to now, in a very healthy way, I had already like stopped dancing with the dance company, obviously. I was just doing it on my own terms and seeing if I could. I ended up starting to audition again. Once I did, the fear of it happening again became so much that I was just like, what am I, at that point, I made the choice. What am I doing to myself? I need to move on from this. I'm making the choice to now take my life into a different venue and see how that goes. Because at that point, through these injuries and through these recoveries, I was now starting to really hone in on acting and taking classes and really trying to cultivate that in me. Yeah. So I would have, not to say have something to fall back on, but something that would ignite that fire in me again.
Totally. I mean, you give great face, and and you have, as all of your mentors said, like you had a performance that was already coming out of you, and so nurturing that with some acting classes like totally makes so much sense. So what was the first acting job that you booked? Like the first big one that you were like, oh, look at me. Look, I got to call my mama.
Because that's interesting, because I'm trying to think. I wasn't sure whether I would, try to do more theater or film and TV. So I was like kind of, going back and forth with,
Mhm.
not that to say that we can't do all of them, but
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
seeing like where my focus would be more.
Mhm.
I guess I'll mention this one. The first equity showcase that I was in was called the Church of Why Not,
Mhm.
directed by Ari Laura Creeth. And actually, that's where I met Lisa and Valentine, which you know
Who's
very
been on the
well.
podcast. We're
Who's
all
been on
big
this
fans. We
podcast?
love her.
Who she
She's an
has,
incredible book, The Everyday Actor. Check it out.
she is
Mhm.
fantastic. And she's actually the one that referred me to do standardized patient work.
Of course she
So
did.
it's kind of like when those stars align, that one
Mhm.
thing leads into another.
Mhm.
And it was a way to, like, not only did I was part of this play where I met all these amazing people and I was on stage and like kind of like living now my dream.
So I guess my next question
Yes.
is like, what was the goal with acting? Because I know you said, theater, and you started with equity. What was the goal? Like, what was the when I do this check mark is in that box. Like, once I've completed that, I've made it. Like, what was that for you?
My initial gut reaction to that question, which is still, I guess, my goal, is to be an ongoing working actor.
Yeah.
I know we all have to have like our vision boards and those main goals that we need to be focused on.
Yeah.
But I've learned through my mistakes that if I put all my eggs in one basket and just focus on the one thing,
Mhm.
then I won't give myself the liberty to experience all these other little dreams or little moments of ecstasy if I don't allow myself to go in those different areas. So I think overall, as a working actor, I feel like if I'm constantly working, meeting incredible people, feeling enriched and fulfilled and satisfied as an actor, creating work, having a podcast, like now having my other jobs that supplement my acting, I think for me that's like my end game. I think that's like kind of where I feel the most alive.
Mhm. 2020 was an interesting year for us all.
Mhm.
But we got a little ray of sunshine coming over from your area in the podcast world. Are these
Yeah.
books drunk?
Are these books
Are
drunk?
these books
Yes,
drunk?
ma'am.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, tell everybody what it's about. I love this podcast. I love this
So,
podcast. The
oh,
link will be below.
thanks.
Everyone has to check it
Yay.
out.
Thanks,
So tell
Ashley.
us about the pod.
So the pod it stemmed from the idea, two girlfriends, Brandy Bravo and Emma Orlov, which I also met at the Church of Why Not play. Funny enough. So
Mm.
it's like, again, something was brewing
Mm-hmm.
within that play.
Mm-hmm.
We've been friends ever since. We loved going out for happy hour. We loved chit-chatting. Got along very well, even though we're three actresses. We just were very much in tune with one another and really wanted to dive deep into subjects that people don't normally want to talk about. And so during quarantine, we would meet at least once or twice on Zoom on a weekly basis. Both of them at that point were really trying to hone in on their voiceover acting. They built their
Mm-hmm.
studios. And Brandy, I think, was the one who originally came up with the idea of like, well, why don't we do a podcast? Like, why
Mm-hmm.
not start something where we can actually do a happy hour while we're chatting, share it with others, but how do we go about that and how do we find our niche?
Mm-hmm.
And then the idea of a book club with a twist came along where we every month we select a book, we divvy it up into sections. Usually it's a 4-part section for the specific book that we select. Every discussion that we have that happens once a week, we curate a cocktail that will go along with that particular section of the book.
Mm-hmm.
And Emma Orlov's husband, Ricardo, he's a mixologist. Italian stallion, we call him. He's a
Mm-hmm.
mixologist. So he basically creates these amazing cocktails to go along with that particular section of the book that we're discussing.
Ah.
So it's like we have our own little happy hour, we have our book club, we chit chat about that, but we always bring in our own life stories and how they kind of correlate with what we're talking about in the book.
I love it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
so
it's
much fun.
fun.
It's so much fun. And everyone can check it out. It's streaming on all podcast
Yes.
places, and the link
Yeah.
will be below. You did mention interesting side jobs, and I love
Yeah.
asking actors about this. And you have
Sure.
one that I just think is so cool. Why don't you tell everybody about that, one of your side jobs?
Well, I'm a bilingual interpreter, Spanish interpreter for legal depositions.
What's that?
So, well, funny enough, when I was a kid, I wanted to be either a doctor or a lawyer. That's like what I said. I was like dancer, but I would be a doctor or lawyer. So now I'm standardized patient, and now I work
Okay.
with lawyers every
You've
day.
done it all. I love you.
So pretty much I go into these court reporting offices. I work with a few interpreting firms in the tri-state area. And when I'm there, they hire me to translate for the witness.
Mhm.
Usually the witness is someone who doesn't speak a word of English or doesn't really understand English or can understand it, but it would be easier to have someone to translate everything for him.
Mhm.
So, or her. So I translate for him or her, and then I translate for the lawyer who's asking the witness the questions. So I'm either hired by the prosecutor side or the defense side, and
Okay.
keep on going back and forth. I'm constantly under oath. And so it's very high stakes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's either like medical malpractice cases, workers' comp cases, which I know very much about because I was injured on the job as a dancer. So I
Yeah.
went through my own. So it's funny how all these things are kind of intertwined.
Wow.
And then motor vehicle accidents. So those are mainly the ones that I work on. And after I talk to you, I'm going to have one case that I'm going to be interpreting for remotely today. So
Oh,
something that it's
wow.
ongoing. Yeah. It's
What an
fascinating.
It is. It's so fascinating. I can't
Yeah.
wait for your book.
One day.
Yeah.
But speaking of jobs and other things that we're doing and what the pandemic has taught us, you went back to school.
Oh, yeah, I did.
And I wanted to talk about that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about it. So I went back to school, as a lot of you know, but if you don't, now you know. So if you're a member of Actors Equity or unions, check out Union Plus, and they have a partnership with the Eastern Gateway Community College. So you can go to school for free. Free.
Incredible.
So I'm working on an associate's right now in business with a focus in social media and marketing for free.
It's unreal, Ashley.
It really is. Well, I can't take ownership for it. One of my girlfriends, Leah Keel, started going a semester before me, and she started taking classes, and I was like, it's kind of one of those things like you can go to school for free, and you're like, is it a real school? Is it like online modules? Like what, you're not sure.
No. Right.
And she's like, no, it's like legit. It's real. Go Gators. And I'm like, okay. So I did a little bit of research, and I was like, it's 2020, gigs are few and far between. Why not?
Right.
I wanted to go into something that I would be able to kind of expand with the podcast and with the art of blowing it and be able to promote my stuff. And I thought, well, why not learn the tools, learn a little bit more business? Because I went to school for theater. And so I missed out a lot on the analytics of things, which I'm really finding myself thriving in this new realm that I never thought I'd go back to school. I just didn't think. And I didn't think I was going back to school because it would be giving up. I thought, well, where am I going to find time?
Sure. Right.
Go back to school. Like, is money just going to fall out of the sky? And it did.
And it did.
It did in a way.
All right. There it is.
It did.
Yeah.
It fell out because of the program that they have. And and I recently was on the podcast Why I'll Never Make It with Patrick Oliver Jones. Do you know him?
I saw that. I don't, but I read about it when you posted
I'm gonna connect
it.
the two of you because I think you'd get along quite well. When I was interviewing him, we were chatting, and I told him about school. He signed up. He just started his first semester.
You're kidding.
So it's a gift that keeps on giving.
Look at you. Yes, it is.
Because Leah passed it on to me. I passed it on to Patrick.
Yeah.
I mean, it's legit. Because after my first semester, I was like, am I going to get a bill? I was worried,
Of course, you
Yeah,
don't
but
know.
no, it's legit, and I'm learning things that I
Wow.
didn't think that I would, and it's really
Wow.
cool. So thanks
Look
for
what,
asking about it. I
yeah,
love it.
look at what the pandemic has done. And it's made a lot of changes for many. I think a lot of us
Totally.
have evolved or started seeing things in a different light, like being able to go back to school and being able to find the time to do that. But it's also something that will aid and benefit everything else that you're doing is
Totally.
pretty gnarly.
It is. You know what else
Yeah.
was pretty gnarly?
Hmm.
Remember when you were on that game show and I about lost my shit? That was pretty gnarly. Sorry. But I've wanted to be on a game show since I was a kid. Like I can't wait for the day when I'm actually on one because it's just gonna be super satisfying. But you were like the Vanna White
Yeah.
on on a game show. Tell everybody about it.
And it's funny because they actually called me the Latina Vanna White because it was shot out in LA and they were like, yeah, that's the Latina
Yeah.
Vanna White. Um, Crazy story. Andrew, my husband, he was working for Fox Sports back then. I'm not sure. Well, he works for the sports media and
Mhm.
he had to go out to LA quite often for work. I had never been out to LA.
Mhm.
So on one of his trips, I went along with him. At that point, I was freelancing with a few agents and I let them know, I'm like, hey, I'm going to be there for 2 weeks.
Mhm.
If any auditions come up, I'll be there. Let me
Yeah.
know. They were like, oh, good. Have fun. I'm like, all right. I went on Actors Access one day when I was out in LA, and they were looking specifically for a Latina with a very like your girl next door Latina
Mhm.
who has had hosting experience, which I had had in the past, who could be the second hand to Pat Neely, who was from the Food Network,
Mhm.
to co-host a game show. And I
I
was like,
love the Neelys.
they're
They're
so
so cute.
great.
So cute.
Pat Neely was amazing to work with. So I was like, might as well. Got the audition, went in, had a great time with the producers, never heard anything.
Mhm.
The day before they were going to start rehearsals, I was already back in New York. I get a call from the casting director, and she's like, we loved you. We went in another direction, but it just didn't end up working out.
Mhm.
Would you, by any chance, be able to fly to LA tomorrow and start rehearsals for Save to Win? And I was like, yeah. Yeah. And so they flew me out there. I was there for 2 weeks. We shot 17 episodes because it was a well-oiled machine. Like once
Yeah.
you got the ball rolling, it was very quick. It was a half an hour show. It was so much fun.
Mm.
I learned a lot about working with so many different cameras and like
Mhm.
camera angles. And because a lot of what I did was pretty much promoting the products that
Mhm.
they were like playing for on the show, I kind of use my skills as a dancer, my skills as an actor, my skills as a host, and it all kind of came together. And it was
Okay.
such a great experience.
Okay. So I have a
Yeah.
question. Do you have
Yes.
anything in front of you, or this? What is in your hand? Uh, okay. Can you show us? Because you spoke about camera angles. Can you show
Sure.
us the angle of what you should do? Because
Oof.
this may be super helpful for people out there.
Each product would basically like roll out of the conveyor belt, and I would have to like pick it up, and depending how shiny it was or where like the actual label of the product was, I would have to make sure that my face was showing and like either give it like a little pat or a little like this. I created this whole thing. Like I was basically like, they're like just accentuate the product, and I'm like, okay, let me do this. It was really fun.
Oh,
Like
that's
I just made it
great.
my own, and I
Yeah.
had different cameras coming from different angles. So depending where I knew the little red light was, I would just go and look and give my little like wink or my smile and pat the product.
Yeah. Oh, that's
And Neely.
amazing.
Yeah.
Pat, oh, that's a good tip. That's a good
Mm-hmm.
tip for anyone who's got like a commercial audition and they say, hold a product for something. That's a
And
good tip.
yeah, and especially like where your fingertips are, where you're holding it, because your hand has to look as delicate as possible, but it can't overwhelm the product. Like never,
So
grip the
don't
product into it.
don't hold it like this.
Exactly.
Don't do
Exactly.
this.
It's like a very gentle caress, let's call it.
A
Yes.
caress. Okay. Okay. So okay. Oh my God. Yeah. So best supporting actress you got recently,
I
right?
did.
During
Thanks, Ashley.
2020.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was
What was the
crazy.
project
Thank you.
again?
So it was an independent film, feature film, called entitled Unspoken. We shot it almost for over a year because it was very low budget, very independent. I was very excited about the project, very excited to work with the director, Daryl Denner,
Mhm.
and the production company, Fictional Films. And yeah, it was a passion project because it took about a year to film. And we finished filming it maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And
Wow.
now it's entered the film circuit, the film festival circuit, because it took a while to edit and because
Mhm.
of the pandemic, just things were delayed quite a bit.
Mhm.
And it's made it into, I think, 5 festivals now, one of which was the New York Long Island Film Festival,
Oh
where
wow.
to my surprise, I was nominated as Best Supporting Actress, and I actually ended up winning for a
There
feature
you go.
film.
Yeah, you did.
So yeah, so that was very special. It was a glimmer of light and hope during the pandemic because that
Totally.
happened in late fall of last year. Yeah, thanks for bringing that
Amazing.
up.
Oh my God. I was so excited when I saw
Oh,
that.
thank you. Well,
So
you, Missy, have
excited.
been winning awards left and right. You also won an award recently, so come on. And producing and writing and starring in your own series. Like, look who's talking. Come on, Ashley.
Well,
And by
hey,
the way, I
yeah.
need to bring this up because you tell your viewers, or have you showcased your singing to your viewers at all, listeners?
I do. I don't overwhelm them.
Well, I
You
can
know,
overwhelm them with just publicly publicizing how. Okay, you guys out there, you have no idea. This lady on stage is a force to be reckoned with. You are I can't. I can't. I remember seeing you the first time. I remember bringing Andrew to one of your shows and blown away every single time. Like you have so many talents, Ashley. It's incredible.
I'm gonna play this part for my mama.
Oh, well, she should hear it over and over again because
She's
she needs
like
to
that.
know that you are a very special, special, special lady.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I love to sing. I love to act. I cannot dance, but I like to watch people dance. I like to podcast, So
Yeah,
so
yeah,
thank you.
yeah.
Thanks for thanks for making me blush.
Oh, I'm glad I
Um
did that for you
you
today.
totally did. You totally did. Yeah, I really appreciate it. I do enjoy performing.
Mhm.
Um so I guess my next question is like, I mean, you've done so much
Yeah.
considering like starting out. And I mean, dancers have a short shelf life. Like, I mean, so that must have been like in the back of your head, like
It was
knowing this was gonna,
inevitable.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and I mean, you've done so many different pockets. You've done dance, you've done stage, you've done, you've used your acting to work in different realms as side jobs,
Right,
and you've done voiceover,
right.
you've done podcasting. Is there anything that you haven't done yet that you kind of are interested in doing, like another form of media?
No, I recently, because now I've built my makeshift
Beautiful.
voiceover booth.
Makeshift. Girl, I got a box I record in with a mattress pad in it. You doing good.
Thanks. I've been trying to like really hone in into my voiceover skills,
Mhm.
and especially in Spanish because I have worked a lot as a Spanish voiceover artist, but not doing a lot more in English. Um, Recently, I've taken a few voiceover classes where a lot of animation has been
Mhm.
something that's come into play, and I think that would be very exciting because it would be another way to continue using my body.
Oh,
and
yeah.
being able to do voices for these animations for cartoons or something like that would be kind of interesting to do. And I think it also has it's a whole different life.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I like that, putting that out there. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And
And a
then
series regular, of course, is my next. Don't we all want that one?
what's your dream type show? Like, let's say they rebooted it, or not reboot. Let's pretend you could have been on any show, because that'll tell us very much about the genre. If you could have been on any show as a character that would have made sense in that world, what show would it have been?
I always say there's always two, or as of late, I've always said two, like whenever I'm pitching myself. One would be Jane the Virgin.
Oh,
If
totes.
there was I
Yeah, you'd
mean,
have fit in that world, or
very
character you would
much.
have played would have fit in
Mhm.
that world. Yeah.
Or Showtime's The Affair. There's a part of me that's very much
Yeah.
has that dark side with a lot of
Ooh.
like emotional complexity to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's also that kind of, I would love to fit in that world too.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I would do anything,
Oh, yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
But if I could choose right now, it would be one or the other. So, I mean, both are
Mm.
very different, but I think I have in my acting, there's sides, I have each of those sides to play with that are very accessible
Totally
to
agree.
me.
Totally agree. Okay.
Yeah.
So we talked a bit about fear. And I
Yeah.
like to ask this question to everyone.
Sure.
In your life, when you feel fear start to creep in, like, what do you do to combat that?
Whew. Uh, I've had, as we've already spoken about, there's been moments of my life where fear has been debilitating to the
Mhm.
point that I didn't want to even leave my house. And
Mhm.
it's been through a lot of therapy and a lot of reflecting that I have acknowledged and I'm aware of that fear will always be present for me. But the way to cope with that is by changing my mindset with like positive, like positive mantras
Mhm.
and like staying busy.
Mhm.
But my go to always is exercise.
Mhm. Yeah.
There's something about releasing those endorphins and having something else to kind of like keep you preoccupied both mentally and physically that really helps with knowing that my body still functions, that
Mhm.
I'm still capable of doing things. So it allows me to like release that angst, that
Mm.
anxiety.
I have a question, because
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not a big exerciser. I go through big bouts of life where, like, I'll once I get in a mode, like, I'm in it.
sure.
And I mean, you're an athlete.
Hmm.
You really are. Like, the core of
Thank
who you
you.
are, you're an
Yeah,
athlete.
yeah,
So, this is just advice for me. Like,
sure.
would you give someone? What advice do you give yourself when you don't want to do it, but you make yourself do it? Know what I mean?
Immediately, I would say that I would feel worse if I didn't do it at all, because then the guilt would kind of come into play.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but for someone who's not an ongoing active person or doesn't really necessarily feed off of it, but wants to give it a try,
Mhm.
it takes baby steps. And it has
Mm,
to be
mhm.
something that you really enjoy doing.
Yeah.
Because during the pandemic, it was really hard not being able to go to the gym, not being able to go outside or run outside. And I was like, what am I going to do now? Because if I'm
Yeah.
already an anxious person and I need to release those endorphins, what now?
Yeah.
Luckily, initially I was like, really? But Andrew, my husband, was like, well, why don't we try purchasing a Peloton?
Mhm.
I'm like, okay. I
Mhm.
was never a stationary bike person at all.
Yeah.
I need to be like, I don't know. I mean, I did the elliptical, but I like to move,
Mhm.
like not stay in one place the whole time.
Mhm.
He bought this Peloton and it's changed my life because the music element,
Oh, yeah.
the inspirational instructors.
Yeah.
You choose to take whatever class you want and every day is different. For me, the variety really helps. Music really helps. It's
Mhm.
like it keeps me going. And also having these instructors who are really all about inspiring you to keep going really helps. So that, like, I think the combination of having those and learning what suits you and what gives you that motivation is what is really going to help you, like, do it more often. And instead of questioning, do I really need to do it? Or like, what if I don't do it today? You're going to be like, I need to do this.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind that I just want to get moving.
Mariana, you're such an inspirational lady.
Thank you.
I really dig you. I'm so grateful
Oh,
that we're friends and that I've gotten
me
to know you. And I'm
too.
so
Oh my God, me
grateful
too.
that you've come on the show and you've shared your experiences, your struggles, and whew, I mean, you've gone through it. You've gone through it and
Yes.
you've lived some lives, as a lot of
Yeah.
us have. Like you
As a
have to
lot of us
adapt
have.
and
Yes.
but I really love you coming on here and sharing your story. Um,
Thank
but
you.
I know everyone's wondering, like, where can they find you?
Sure. Well, on Instagram, of course,
On the
at
gram.
maricard_22. So that's MARICARD
Mhm.
_22. Also on my website, you can send me an email through that, and it's www.mariana, MARIANA, Cardenas, CARDENAS.com. Yeah, so I'm very accessible on either of those.
Amazing. And I'll be sure to put links down below for everyone to
Thank
be able
you.
to. Do you know what? I like you're reminding me of like Jennifer Love Hewitt right now at that angle you were just at. I've never noticed that before.
Funny. Yeah, I tend to get that quite often. Yeah.
I've never noticed that, but
Especially when I suit my bangs, even more so. There's something about, yeah, she's
can you
my,
do me a favor and give me like a super dramatic sigh like they did on Party of Five? It was so good. Guys, that's what it looks like to book. That right there. She just like
oh
did it.
God.
Just did
I don't know
it.
about that.
Oh my God. Yes. Yes. Okay. So
Ashley,
yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
oh,
Hey.
now I have
Hey
more
now.
light.
Oh, hey
One
now.
more thing I wanted to say. I think what you're doing here with this podcast is absolutely incredible because as artists, we always feel that we're alone
Mhm.
and that only we're the ones going through it, or we're the ones getting rejected, or we're the ones not finding our space or finding our voice. So having all these different voices and all these different artists who have, either made it or not necessarily made it, but made it in their own way,
Totally.
gives other artists such as myself, like, the support that we sometimes are missing, that we hope we can get somewhere. So thank you for doing that for everyone.
Well, it is my absolute pleasure. I know so many ridiculously talented people
You
that
too.
nobody else knows. Like these people are so famous to me because I've seen their work and I've seen their talent, and it's like, why shouldn't other people see them? And so thank you. That really means a lot. I started this podcast because I just wanted connection. Like I wanted to be able to talk to my
Sure.
friends, but I also wanted to be able to learn about people. And I think that we
Yeah.
learn so much. Like one of my favorite podcasts, two of them, Smartless
Mm,
and the Mark Maron show. And they interview these celebrities and talk about their lives and stuff. And I thought, well, yeah, but what about everybody else? Like, what about all these other performers that are taking these steps and just because their names aren't in lights, like they're doing it and they're doing stuff. So I think it's well,
absolutely.
thank you. Thank you. It
Yeah.
makes me super happy that other creatives like the show and that you're out there and you're listening and you're
Mhm.
watching and I appreciate you. So
Aw.
yeah. Okay, well, I think we're rounding it out. And you gotta are these books drunk? Are these books
Come,
drunk?
come and join our happy hour.
Join the happy hour for
Yeah.
sure.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, Mariana, it's an absolute pleasure.
Always, Ashley. Thank you so much again.
Thank you so much. All right.
Bye, all.